What up, guys? We're not working, but let's step into the office. What up, guys? Today's video you're gonna watch, don't mind me, I'm just roaming the halls in the hospital. Today's video, as you can see, is gonna be some tips, tricks, what I've learned while doing gig life, but also just work life, and what I've learned, how to balance it out. And I'm gonna give you some advice and tips that's helped me, only because I've made so many mistakes with work-life balance before. And you think you got it down, and sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, but I've made so many, I just wanted to pass on what has worked for me, and then maybe you can take a little bit of that and adjust it in your life, and maybe you have it, and that's great. But it's hard to do, especially when you're doing gig work, and maybe you don't have a boss to tell you to stop or tell you to go home, or it can be difficult whether you're part-time or full-time. But I'm gonna give you guys some tips and tricks and some what's worked for me, and let's just talk about that, because I think it's an important part that sometimes doesn't get talked about enough, quite frankly. So let's get into it. All right, this tip's for my part-timers. Your time, I think, is even more valuable than us full-timers sometimes, because you're somebody that probably has another job or 2 or 3 or whatever, and you're going on a Friday for 4 hours, a Saturday for 2 hours, a Sunday for 6 hours, and you really got to maximize your time because you don't have as many hours in a week that you could dedicate to gig life. So with that being said, my tip for you on how to balance that is know when to stop. Know when to take the L. Know when it's just not popping. Don't go chasing that money, because you're already a super busy person and you're grinding and putting so much time in, right? So you gotta know when to stop, get back to your family, your other work, whatever you got going on. Know when to take the L and try to make it up somewhere else, because you're gonna have those Fridays on your 4-hour block that just ain't popping. It ain't hitting. You're running into issues. Know when to pause, know when to stop or adjust. But you gotta be willing to say no as a part-timer sometimes, I think. And I did a part-time last year, Uber rideshare, after work, and there are times there was money to be made, and I capitalized. And when there wasn't, or something was going wrong, I stopped, I turned the app off or the apps off and said, hey, it ain't my night. I'm not gonna let it stress me out and carry over into my family life, but I did, that's why I'm saying this, or I'm not gonna let it carry into my other job by not having enough energy or festering over it because it was a bad night. If you're part-time, know when to stop and just take the L and readjust. Second tip for the part-timers, don't mind me, we're in the family lounge at the hospital. Schedule your time ahead of time, on DoorDash specifically, if you can schedule it, or if you got Grubhub and you do blocks, schedule it, because you don't want to assume, hey, I'm going to work Friday 4 to 9, 5 to 10, and then you can't do it. If you're part-time, schedule your dashes. All right, so another tip for the part-timers, right? Depending on how much you dash or do gig work, it could be once a week, maybe you do it twice a week, 2 times a month only, right? There's gonna be things that change on the apps that you might not be aware of until you start doing your gig work. The DoorDash app might be different, might be new news. Merchants around might have changed protocols and procedures in your area. You didn't find out about it until you're in the middle of your dash, and you're only going to dash for 4 hours that week, and you're like, oh, this is different. You got to be patient. Stay patient. Things are going to happen, change. Join a Facebook group. Get on Reddit. Get on YouTube before your shift, so that you can see. Google search DoorDash news, so that when you're out there, you can maximize your time without running into too many things that are going to be brand new and are going to be called like speed bumps for you, okay? So be in the now. Knowledge is power. Get the information from somewhere even before you're going to dash, okay? Or while you're doing it, whatever. So that when things happen as you're doing your part-time gig life, you're not always surprised. All right, guys, this next tip goes for part-time, full-time. It goes for anything, really. Work-life balance we're talking about, right? How to stay sharp and all that. Super important to communicate what your goals are to the ones around you that you live with or that you share time with. So if you're doing this stuff for your family, your family's got to be on board with you. Your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your significant other, your kids, they got to know, hey, mom's working, you know, after she gets off from the hospital, she's gonna go work and, you know, do some gig work. Or after she gets off at the local grocery store, she's gonna go do some gig work. Or after she's done with her school, she's gonna go gig work for 5 hours tonight. They gotta know that. And it's gotta be real clear. Communication with your family and friends is important. And they don't have to agree necessarily, but they gotta know what's going on. If you're gonna tell your girlfriend, hey, I'm gonna work today for 10 hours, I gotta hit it, I'm gonna make some money, I need to make $250 today. You gotta communicate that so that they know you're working 10 hours, they know what you're doing, right? And if you say 10 hours, you gotta make it 10 hours. And if something changes, if you come home early, that's a bonus. If you're gonna stay out 12 hours or you're gonna work from 6 hours instead of 4 hours, you gotta let them know that. You gotta send them a text, hey, there's money to be made out here. I gotta stay out. You good? You need anything? Or there has to have been money on my lunch shift, so I gotta stay out a little bit more at dinner. You gotta communicate that. That is so invaluable, and I didn't always do that in my prior work life. You know, I was supposed to work 8-9 hour day. It winds up being 10, 11, 12 hours. And you miss family stuff. You're late to picking up the kid. You're late to the ball game. You're late to the birthday party because you're putting work first. Balance and communication, man, super key. All right, this is just want to put this in there as a disclaimer to remind you guys. These gig apps, they do things for us. They give us a platform to reach our goals and make money or whatever, right? So freedom and flexibility, turn on when you want, turn off when you want, for the most part, off and on. We're expendable though, remember that. New people coming on this platform all the time, new people leaving the platform all the time. We're expendable. They'll get rid of us when they want. We're expendable, extremely. We're a number. The time you give these apps, right, you can't get back. You can't trade it in later when you regret you didn't spend enough time with your kids or your wife or your husband or your family. Remember that. Let's continue. Let's step into the office. What up, guys? So we talking about this work-life balance when you're doing gig life, right? Because that's what I do now, and that's probably what you do. But let's take a step back for a second. I remember there was a moment. I'm going to share a story with you guys. I'll try to be quick. Remember there was a moment when my daughter Gabriella was about 9 or 10. And she was playing softball. I was at one of her games, and there was going to be another team she was going to join. And the coach that was going to assemble that team was there. This was somebody that I went to high school with, and we weren't friends, but we knew each other, and you know, we had acquaintances and things like that. And after the game, his daughter was going to play, and they were the same age. After the game, he asked me, hey, Pedro, would you like to help me coach the team? He was looking for people to help. You know, you do it. I've coached before and helped. And at that point, I had helped. I had coached Gabby's basketball team she was on for a year, and that was fun. And, you know, it was great. I love it. And he asked me that, and my initial response was, I remember saying no. I remember the moment very specifically now. We're in a parking lot. I've thought about this many times since then. We're in a parking lot. I was getting ready to get in my car, and I said, no, man, I don't know. I just got, work's busy. I got this promotion. I don't know if I can make it work. And I remember at the time thinking, yeah, it is kind of busy, and you know, I'd hate to commit to something and not be able to really give it my all. And I share that story with you guys because that, while at the moment seemed very insignificant, seemed like a small thing, and I said no, I washed it over. Years later, it's one of my many regrets in life, and this is why. So I say to him, I got a promotion, I don't know if I could do it, I'm gonna be busy, you know, don't want to commit to something I can't give my 100% effort. And in that moment, I should have said yes, because I could have done it. You got to have balance, right? Never put your work before I shouldn't have put my work before my kids, my family. You're replaceable at any job, guys. I can't think of any job in this world that you're not pretty easily replaceable. And a lot of us do things and we're good at it and stuff. Especially gig life, we're extremely expendable. I share that with you guys because it's, Gabriella at the time was 9 or 10. Now she's 19. She'll be 20 in September. We're not as close as I'd like us to be. And softball became something she wound up playing middle school, all 4 years in high school. She made the varsity as a freshman, which was a big deal. And I'd continue to go to games, not all of them, some of them, not as many as I should have. And we continued to do other things. But softball became a really big part of her life. The camaraderie, the friendship, the discipline it gave her. Just something to look forward to, something to enjoy. The friendships that she has, the coaches she met along the way. Challenging herself. And I miss that. And I feel like, you never know, you can't go back in time. But I feel like if I said yes in that moment, we could be closer now. We would have had so many moments that I missed from helping that guy I knew coach the team. We would have had so many moments. We would have had more time together in the car, picking her up and dropping her off from these practices, more games that I would have had to commit to go to, more time. We would have had more time. And I'm making this video today because of what's happened in the last few days. And how I don't ever want to look back and say, man, I missed a moment where I could have been available and I wasn't. Balance, guys. Especially with these apps. Use them to get to where you want to go. Because they're going to use us. Have a plan. Let's talk about the next tip. So for me, if you're full-time and you're doing this gig life, you gotta have an exit strategy. You gotta have an out. What is your out? I want you to think about that. Many of you probably have, many of you maybe haven't. We've talked many times before as to how long you want to do it and monetary goals and what, why are you doing it? But you gotta have an exit strategy. Okay, I'm gonna do it for a year. When I get to this point, then I can exit out. I can start doing it maybe just part-time and then not at all. And have an exit strategy for this gig work. You gotta have a goal. You gotta write it down somewhere. You gotta put it in your phone. You gotta put it in your laptop as your background. You gotta put it on your refrigerator. Share it with other people so that they know. Maybe they can hold you accountable to that if you want to share it. You got to have an exit strategy in order to have your balance. You got to have your eye on the prize. Otherwise, it can become very easy, in my opinion. And I've been doing this for a little while now, right? Not long, but long enough to where you'll just start making the money and feeling good, and it will become normal. And you'll get stuck in that rut of like getting up, dashing, going to my one job and doing this on the side. And it just becomes this thing. And then before you know it, months or years have gone by and you're like, why am I still doing this? Exit strategy, very important. Gig, work-life balance, another strategy. Full or part-time, really. Super important, okay? You got to have people around you that know what's going on. We talked about earlier. You got to be super communicative with the ones around you and get their input on stuff. If you got kids, hey guys, I planned on, they got to be on board with this, right? They got to know, hey, dad, mom's working on Friday night, you guys good? What do you guys got going on Friday? Plan on working for 4 or 5 hours, let you know. And they're kids, you don't need their permission. But if they're old enough, make sure they're on board with it. Make sure that they understand the why. Because kids nowadays, they need to know why. This generation, they need to know why. Right now, it's not just, in most cases, I think, because dad and mom said so. right? Kids value, and you can think about it how you want, right? Kids value the why, right? And you're gonna make the decisions, and you gotta lead them by, you gotta lead them, but kids value the why. They do. And if they understand why you're doing it, they'll admire you for it. But you gotta be transparent, communicate with the ones around you, and it will make your dash life, your gig life, less stressful if they know what's going on. They're not blowing your phone up, texting you, when are you going to be home, blah, 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 blah. They know that dad and mom is getting their hustle on right now. I'll be done at 10 p.m. Super important. And don't forget to have time for you. Do things for you. It could be little, lunches by yourself that you have, and you just think about whatever. It could be catching a movie by yourself. It could be going to the pool, going to the gym, going to the gym and getting some hoops up, some shots, working out, doing things for you and scheduling it. You got to schedule it. You got to think about it, be proactive. Even if that means waking up an hour before everybody else in the house, and you get an hour or half an hour to yourself to read a book, to reflect, to make breakfast, to watch your favorite TV show by yourself if you want. Make time for you. It will make the grind better if you are refreshed and your mind is focused and you feel good and you're healthy. Make time for yourself. Bet on you, set goals one day at a time. What is your why? Don't forget. What does balance look like to you? Could be different for everybody. Your balance could be different to mine, vice versa. And that's okay. Establish what that balance is for you. Right? Establish it. It should be part of your plan. Just a disclaimer. I have made many mistakes about balancing work-life balance and making the right decisions in certain moments, right? But I'm giving you guys my thoughts on this and why it's super important because I've made those mistakes. That's the place I'm coming from, right? So it's not that I feel like I've always lived these things, but as corny as this might sound, if one person can relate to this and say, no, you know what, maybe I should be balancing things a little bit better, then I feel like I've done something. That's the point of it, right? I feel like I have a responsibility to the community to talk about my experiences, how it's related to gig work, my past job, why I got into gig work because it can provide me a better work-life balance. And in what we do, guys, that's super important, right? I think a lot of us do it for that reason. Whether it's because, we're building towards something, we want to be our own boss, we like the work, we like the flexibility, we like that we can be there for our kids or our significant others maybe a little bit more on our time schedule and then just grind when we can, right? So I'm speaking from a place of experience. I am. Listen, bet on you, set goals one day at a time. Don't forget, adapt your strategies when needed. Have an exit strategy, an exit plan, and re-up that. Rethink about that every month or every year, however long your plan is. You're going to have to adjust sometimes, maybe, and that's okay. You guys are great. Moral of the story, guys. Moral of the story. You got to balance it out. And a lot of us know that. But sometimes it's easier said than done. Work is just work, whether it's gig work, W-2, whatever. You put food on the table, you keep the lights on, you pay the bills, right? You get a sense of purpose from that. But at the end of the day, you got to balance it out. I'd never met somebody older that when we talked about things that they were excited about, happy, good memories, it was never like, oh yeah, I did that delivery and it was great. Or I got that project done at work and it was fantastic and I loved it. And they don't talk about the successes of work. They talk about family time, moments, trips, vacations, babies being born, getting married, going to graduations, celebrations, weddings. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know already, but I'm just reminding you. Balance. Deuces.